Welcome to our open book. Very good to be with you. Hi there, also Elise, John O'Hara, Dorothy Joy, Esther O'Brien, Jeremy Sicking, Fran. Very good to be with you. Maggie, Carla Atkinson. I'm going to get pushed around again. I can tell. Look, I usually don't read from my own books here, but I'm going to make an exception tonight because the Cubs have clinched this playoff spot. Now, I don't know how far they're going to go, but they've clinched a spot, and What a nice thought. Hi there, Catherine Capel, and I want to read. I know I look pretty rugged. Hi there, darling. I do, don't I?
You look great.
Nice of you to say that. Thank you. Hi there, Diana. I want to read a section that I hope explains the quality of being a Cub fan. I was very moved to see an interview with Ian Happ, the great Cub outfielder, who I think has been with the club 10 years, if I'm not mistaken, who was very moved talking about part of what makes the club special, not just like any other franchise, and how glad he is to see them in the playoffs. Hell of a thing that the people at Cubs, the Craig Counsell, who they recruited, pulled down from Milwaukee, pulled up in the world. Well, Joan, hello, and thank you for your hip joining us. Very good to be with you and your hip. Thank you. Is that the right thing to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
Just hip to it.
But Craig Counsell's former team, the Brewers, has obviously been on fire this year. So, Chapter 4, Cubby Love. Being a Chicago Cubs fan defies metaphor. Nevertheless, over the years, I've tried quite a few. It's like rooting for the Italian army. It's like campaigning for Harold Stassen. It's like raving about your Edsel. If rooting for the New York Yankees is like rooting for U.S. Steel, then rooting for the Cubs is like, well, you see the point? No metaphor improves on it's like rooting for the Cubs. They are the devotion that defines despair. They are the love that evinces the triumph of hope over experience. The Cubs last won a World Series in 1908. Obviously, nowadays we would change that to 2016. Over that century, the world endured 2 world wars, launched men and women through the skies and among the stars, devised vaccines, invented bluegrass music and frozen orange juice, unlocked the atom and cloned mammals. And the Cubs still lost. When mad scientist Theodore Kaczynski was captured, tried, and convicted for sending murderous bombs, social critics tried to fathom what could drive a man so smart to despair so great he committed such wicked crimes. They looked at his relations with his parents, wondered if he'd been the bespectacled egghead ostracized in school, theorized that he had been rejected in romance. But sometimes the best answer comes from the first. The Unabomber had grown up. Where, everyone?
Chicago.
Well, just outside Chicago. Oh no, Cub country. Loss has become the Cubs' legacy, an American tradition alongside Dare Bingle singing White Christmas. The irony is that the chunky Cubs' Red Sea, pinned on a peacock blue crown, has become, along with the Yankees monogram worn by Ruth Garrick, Mantle, and Maris, one of the most recognized baseball emblems in the world. I don't understand other American sports, a teenager in Sarajevo who fiercely followed the Bulls in basketball told me. The Chicago Cubs, I have heard of. They play baseball, yes? Some direct questions simply cannot be answered yes or no. Then I recollect running into my old friend Steve Goodman, who sang to the world. Forgive me, can I sing?
Of course.
Do they still play the blues in Chicago? Whenever baseball season rolls round, when the snows melt away, do the Cubbies still play in their ivy-covered burial ground? Thank you.
You really got there at the end.
Yeah, at the end. But unfortunately, the song is longer than the end.
No.
Oh, geez, did you see them last night? Steve Goodman whispered. He'd stayed up late Saturday after playing at his club to watch the Cubs lose to the Dodgers on the West Coast. Nah, I couldn't stay up. Lost in the 11th, looked terrible. Bonham got shelled. Say, I think I got tickets to the card series. Then he ambled over. Carmen Fanzone was into the club the other night. The utility player, mostly third base, who was also a utility trumpet player along Lincoln Avenue. Did he play the horn? Nah, said Steve Goodman through his quick, cunning grin. He picked it up and dropped it. Steve, a longtime leukemia patient, would die in 1884, making his song pinch in the memory. Do you know his song, A Dying Cub Fans? Last request. Okay.
Do you want to sing it?
Well, I was, but give me a double-header funeral in Wrigley Field on some sunny weekend day. No lights. Have the organist play the national anthem. The little na-na, na-na-na-na. Hey, hey, goodbye. Make 6 groundkeepers carry my casket and 6 umpires call me out at each base. It's a beautiful day for a funeral. Hey, Ernie, let's have 2 today. By the way, I tell the story in here. I happen to know, maybe it happened afterwards. Maybe it's in my other Cubs book. Tell the story of what happened, how Steve was taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
The national image of the Cubs as cuddlesome incompetence probably began with the September 24. So we're coming up on the anniversary, 1948 cover of the Saturday Evening Post. Norman Rockwell's bottom of the ninth showed a line of chagrined Cubs slumping in the dugout, while fans in the seats above smirk, jeer, and blow raspberries. In the foreground, the Cubs' bat boy stands forlorn, his cap askew, his forehead screwed up into his scalp in wonderment. Behind him in the dugout, a battered old glove hangs like a dark brown cloud above the head of a man who's holding his huge right palm against his cheek, as if trying to contain a toothache. His eyes are huge, hound-like, amazed and imploring. That man was Charlie Grimm, Cubs manager and the club's former first baseman, and because he'd married an old friend of my mother's, a former nightclub singer I called Auntie Marion, I got to call Charlie Grimm Uncle Charlie. Charlie had been a left-handed banjo player as well as a first baseman, would perform in Rush Street clubs after a day at the park. One of the advantages of day baseball. He liked Rockwell's picture without feeling flattered. Rockwell was a great artist, of course, he told us at a holiday dinner in the early 60s. Well, he didn't paint you very well, Auntie Marion injected. I've never seen you hold your hand against your face like that. That's Jack Benny. Rockwell made you look like a basset hound. Great artist, Uncle Charlie continued. You can't recognize everybody. I see some of the stuff they call art today in an apartment building lobbies. I want to ask who spilled the ketchup around here. But Rockwell painted so beautifully. You can count the loops in the towels behind us. You can see where a kid's truth is growing in. What an artist. But he wasn't accurate, bad as we were. And we lost 90 games that year. The fans didn't really boo us. Charlie laughed behind his huge ham slice hands. Maybe they should have. Maybe they should have. 90 losses a record. They asked me to move up to the front office the next year and hired Frankie Frisch to replace me. Well, he did a whole lot better, didn't he? Marion chimed in. 93 losses. So let me read on here. We have a lot more about Uncle Charlie in this book and Leo DeRocher. It is difficult to say when ineptitude becomes endearing to a franchise. Several ingredients are necessary. No team really wants to acquire them. During the years in which the Cubs were building their reputation for imaginative inadequacy, The American League St. Louis Browns and Washington Senators were often equal bumblers, but the Senators and Cubs at least had a few individual players in which fans could fasten, and I explained. Phil Cavarretta, Andy Pafko, and eventually Ernie Banks for the Cubs, were receivers Camilo Pascual and Harmon Killebrew for the Senators. The St. Louis Browns had none. Still, under the inspired promotional influence of Bill Veeck, the Browns might have persevered into new levels of appalling ineptitude, but St. Louis was too small a place to split between an outstanding National League team in the Cardinals and the artlessness of the American League Browns. The Brownies moved on to Baltimore in perennial excellence as the Orioles. The Senators once approached storied proportions of deficiency. They could even see caricatures of themselves high-stepping across Broadway in George Abbott's 1955 musical Damn Yankees. A chorus line of slumping senators in wrinkled, sad gray woolen sang, "You gotta have heart." I'm singing a lot tonight, aren't they? All you really need is... Can I sing a little more?
Of course.
When the odds are saying you'll never win, that's when the grin should start. All right, I'll go on. Washington had other critical ingredients: national prominence and a sturdy sense of civic self-importance that outlanders could mock. The phrase Senators fans turned over from history to acclaim their team's inexpedience. Washington, first in war, first in peace, and last in the American League, flattered the city for its omnipotence while it twitted the Senators for ineptitude. In contrast, the Cleveland Indians, as they were known endured almost a generation of disappointment, but the real-life losses of the city were simply too genuine to treat the team as affable buffoons. Even sports fans can shrink from laughing at a down target. But the Senators moved on to Minnesota in 1960, only fans in a city that sees itself as vital can make a joke into a heritage. The legacies of the Mets and Cubs, White Sox and Red Sox don't dent the local self-image. In fact, might make some of the swagger of New York, Boston, and Chicago easier to carry. A man might resent Chicago for its grime, crime, and braggadocio. But who can dislike the Cubbies? I'm just going to read a little more. Is that all right? I'll read until the fat bird sings.
Mm-hmm.
Still, they have been pretty terrible. The humiliation of finishing 27.5 games out of first place in 1948 set a new low water mark for the next year. The Cubs finished 36 games out of first place in 1949. Uncle Charlie spent most of that year in the front office. Almost 20 years later, over the holiday table, he would hold up his hands and say, "I will never forget this. These hands were never meant to carry a briefcase, just a bat, glove, and a banjo." 1950, the Philadelphia Phillies Whiz Kids won the National League pennant. The Cubs of that year were nicknamed the Whiff Kids for striking out a record 767 times. The next year, they negotiated an extensive trade and sent their best hitter, Andy Pafko, their best fielder, Wayne Terwilliger, and two other players to the Brooklyn Dodgers for 4 players who would be difficult to locate today without the aid of the International Committee on Refugees. Pretty tough line, isn't it? The trade, said the Sporting News, was such a steal it should have appeared on police blotters. The newspaper speculated that surely there must be more to the trade, money or players to be named later. There wasn't. The Cubs finished 34.5 games out. Oh, my God.
Right.
Anecdotes dotted their descent into caricature. One June afternoon in 1955, Cubbies put two balls into play against the St. Louis Cardinals. One is considered customary. Umpire Vic Delmore put the second ball into the hands of catcher Sammy Taylor as the Cubs protested that a called ball Ball four on Stan Musial had actually been a tipped second strike. But when a national audience saw shortstop Ernie Banks and second baseman Tony Taylor prancing like mating herons around second base, each confused as to who should try to tag out Musial with what, seemed to convey the quality of Cubness, innocent incoherence. In the mid-1960s, the club acquired a pitcher named Bill Fall, who hypnotized himself before starting games. Opposing pitchers would try to break his trance by dangling pocket watches from the dugout and chanting, "Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock." But it was scarcely necessary. Fall couldn't hypnotize hitters and was eventually released. Also in the 1960s, owner P.K. Wrigley decided to replace the traditional position of manager with a rotating college of coaches. The analogy to a clown college was inescapable. I'll just stop there tonight.
Oh, wonderful. And you should put
Oh,
on the
wonderful.
little
I'm
card.
finally stopping.
No,
Right?
no. On the little card, you should put the date so we know that.
Oh, right.
Right? So we know that you read that section. And today is September 17th, 2025. We never thought to do this in the early days because
Yeah, we didn't think we needed to.
we didn't think we needed
Because
to.
no one's like, COVID would go forever. I mean, open book.
Exactly.
So thanks very much for being with us. Oh, OB and the cuckoo are the best medicine.
John, we hope you feel better soon.
Yes, feel better soon, Joe. Okay, I think it's remarkable what they can do. We have a very good friend who has been on open book, who's had.
Yes, her hips replaced, and we see her maybe not jogging, but walking everywhere.
Yeah, walking everywhere. Yeah, I think she bikes.
Yeah.
Too, because I've run into
and
her
I'm
on
sure
the bike.
she could jog if she wanted to.
She can do anything. So thanks very much for being with us on our open book. We have a poet tomorrow. Let you know later. Take care. Bye-bye.